Okay, now I'm recording it. Halfway through the call. Okay. All right. So Summit. Just go. If anything you guys can do to get there, I really recommend doing it. And this is a list of who is registered for Summit so far. And then here's a list of our new coaches. Welcome, guys. All of these things that I just said about Summit and about the Success Club trip, definitely recommend doing it. This applies to you guys for sure. And I'm going to do the announcements real quick so that we can get to our speaker. The weekly GSR, it's on Thursday. And for all of you new coaches, if you haven't been on it, make sure you jump on it. That's the Getting Started call. And then for any of you who have new coaches starting, make sure you link them to that. It's in the training document in the group. The next Coach Basics group starts on the 10th. And okay, so this is February as well, the Team Cup. Definitely make sure you sign up for this. Every single one of you who's on this call today should be on a Team Cup. There's no reason, like not one reason, you shouldn't be on a Team Cup. It's 5 people. You guys can be any rank. The only requirement is that there's only 1 diamond on the team, so but there doesn't have to be. The worst thing that could happen is you guys learn some leadership skills, you get some momentum, you get some free stuff. Like, that's the worst thing that could happen. And then on the team page, there's 2 things that you guys can learn about, the Success Club contest and the Tipping at the Fire open house. These are both awesome opportunities. The Tipping at the Fire open house is pretty cool. I don't think we've ever done this before, but that's a great way for your coaches or your prospects to kind of see what it's all about. So definitely take advantage of that, and all the info is on the page. Okay, so our speaker tonight is actually my dad. His name is Lyle, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about him right now. Okay, so he actually started his first job as a young teenager mowing lawns and throwing newspapers. His first management position was at 16. He was a manager at a fast food restaurant, sorry. At 18, he was a unit manager, and by 20, he was a manager of multiple units. He studied business in college while he was managing these restaurants, and a few years later, he actually started at the family business as an installer, which is the very bottom. Years later, he moved into the office of what was then a $250,000 a year company. He led the team and built what is now a $3 million a year, over a $3 million a year company. And not only does he run this successful company, but he helped my mom start hers and run her company business. In addition to his work, he's always made time to ride his motorcycles, take my mom on dates, hike. He enjoys photography, and he travels. He manages houses that he rents out. He spends time with his grandkids. And someone who can accomplish all of this has to be great at something, and that is time management. So he is here today to talk to us about time management. So welcome, Dad. It's all yours. Okay, you should be unmuted.
Now that I'm unmuted, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Is it clear enough?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Usually at the beginning when I'm talking to a group, I like to ask them, what is it that you're hoping to learn today? But I realize that most of you are muted, and so I'm going to kind of skip over that right now. And I know we have a limited amount of time, so I'm going to go quickly. I'm not going to tell you that I'm an expert in time management, but I will tell you is that it's something that's interested me for a long time. And as Megan said, in doing all these different things, you've got to be organized. And I'm sure all of you have crazy things in your life going on with kids and all kinds of different things that you have to balance. So the question is, what do you do with your 24 hours in a day? Because the one thing that's very finite in all of our lives is the amount of time that we have. We can have different amounts of money and we can have different amounts of things we have to do, but we all have the same 24 hours to do it in. I think, and Megan talked about some of the things I did early on when I started the business and started working up in the business. It became evident to me, even as an installer, that time was important because I got paid by piecework. So I learned at a really young age that if I could manage my time, then I could do more work. And if I could do more work, then I can make more money. And so that is, I always looked in my business to find what's a more efficient way to do it, what's a faster way to do it, and where am I wasting time. You know, you're installing and you have to be able to make calls and set up installations for the next day. And if you forget to make that phone call for your installation for the next day, all of a sudden you get there and there's nobody there to unlock the door. You can't do it, and you're wasting time and you're losing money. So that's kind of, you know, the beginning of how I learned early on that time was important and managing it was important, because when I forgot to do things, I knew it cost me money. I've read so many books on the subject, and I've listened to so many people, different podcasts, um, different, um, just different tapes and things over the years. Hang on a second, a thought just came to my mind. I don't want to forget, so I'm jotting it down. One of the consistent things that I've heard from everybody that I talk to is, I mean, everybody that I've listened to is plan your work, work your plan. So what tools do you do to plan your work, or what tools do you need or do you use to plan your work, and then follow that and kind of work through your plan. So the biggest two tools that I use is, of course, the calendar and a to-do list. And a lot of people kind of shy away from to-do lists, and they think it's kind of silly, but to me, it's the most important thing. And the calendar is one of the most important things. I was kind of expecting everybody could be talking. So is everybody not able to talk, or can everybody talk in?
Anybody can, we can unmute ourselves. Like anybody
Oh,
can
okay.
unmute themselves to talk. We
Okay.
just usually mute ourselves because when a lot
Okay.
of people are unmuted, it's really loud.
Okay. Well, I kind of like to throw this out there then. You know, if you're looking at your schedule, okay, you've got all these things you want to do, and let's start with the premise that in order to manage your time, you've got to have a calendar and you've got to have a to-do list. Because to me, those are the two most important things. Get something on a calendar and get something on the to-do list, so you can keep all your stuff organized. So if you were going to put together a calendar, what do I have some ideas out there of what might be the most important thing that you want to get on the calendar first? Any thoughts?
I'm going to start unmuting you guys.
Okay, so we could play it a different way.
I'll say something.
Okay,
Workouts. You want to put your workouts in there.
your workouts,
Yeah, you said what do we want to put on our schedule, right?
right? Okay,
Yeah.
first most important thing you want to have on there.
Yep, more important than work.
Okay, workouts, good.
Uh, I would say you want to basically do the things that are not negotiable in your life, the things that you are a must. You know, for her that might be the workouts. There might be, you know, it might be certain things to get your business rolling. Like, you know, we have our three vitals, like invite, get our personal development in. You might have things like that.
Okay,
If you guys wanna type them, I can read them to him too.
okay,
I don't know
I
if
think
you
that
can see
was
the chat, but if you guys want to type them, I can say them.
okay. I kind of like them jumping in. That's okay too. Non-negotiable. I think that's a great item.
What you're gonna eat for that day?
What you're going to eat.
Schedule that.
Right?
That's pretty important. Yeah.
Okay. And not necessarily for the day. Okay, you're starting together. Let's say we're sitting here right now. What are we talking? What's got to be on our calendar for the rest of this month? Maybe we're even getting towards the end of the month. What do we have to put on our calendar for next month before we can even start talking about what are we going to do on any particular day?
Somebody said things with a time limit and goals.
Time limit things, goals. That's good. Okay.
Stuff that has a deadline, challenge groups, coach classes.
Okay, good. Okay. One of the first things that I always put on mine that I didn't really hear anybody address totally would be, and kind of non-negotiable may address it a little bit, but I think the non-negotiable there, he was talking about more about business. To me, some of the non-negotiable items would be also personal items. Okay, is there a recital coming up for one of your kids or somebody that you have to go to? Do you have a family vacation coming up? So before I can even talk about, planning trips or planning, my life, it may be trips to other cities to go look at job sites and things. In your life, it's other things. But I need to put those family commitments on first, because I always like to schedule family things first. One of the things Megan talked about was trying to always have time. And I'm not going to tell you I made it to every event, but I made it to as many as I could be. I mean, I remember when she was doing color guard, I was out there on Friday nights. That was on the calendar. When were those games I had to go on color guard? When was I going to chaperone those trips? And if you don't plan that stuff ahead of time, and if that's not the first thing you put out on your calendar, then in my case, I'm going to find myself in Atlanta, Charlotte, or someplace else on that night and not be able to attend it. So to me, it's the milestone events in the family. Those kind of things get on there first. Date night, like Megan talked about earlier. Always you want to have that date night or have that family time, because if you don't have the family time, then everything else just kind of falls apart. So to me, that's a big thing. And then my second thing after that is exactly what was mentioned before. And by the way, part of my family time would be my, whatever you might want to call your faith time, whether it's time with your church or your temple or whatever your religion may take you. That's something that you want to plan in there also. Then from there, it's events I have no control over, is the way I wrote it. So non-negotiable to me was perfect. I would say this call for most of you is probably one of those items. You don't have any control over what time this call is and when it's going to happen. And you've got other events in your life that you don't have any control over. What time in the morning do you have to take your kid to school and things like that? So those are non-negotiable. So you put those into your calendar where they fall out. So now you get into all those other tasks. Okay, where do we want to put them? Workouts, eats. When are we going to eat? What goals do you have? What are you trying to accomplish? Speaking of goals, what is your long range goal? What's your goal for 5 years from now, for 3 years from now, for 1 year from now, for a month from now? And what are the tasks that you need to do to achieve that goal? So once you break down your long-term goals, your vision, and you guys probably have done some kind of a vision board, because most sales organizations do stuff like that. And okay, you say, well, I want X number of dollars by this point in time. To do that, I've got to do X number of sales calls, which means so many a day. And I'm sure you guys all broke that down somewhere else, so I'm not going to get into that. But if I've got to make 12 calls a day or 10 calls a day or 12 Facebook posts a day or whatever it is that you're doing, now's the time to start plugging those things into your to-do list. And then there's so many ways to organize to-do lists. People out there, I know there's all kinds of computer programs that can do it, and there's apps and things like that. And to me, I just kind of make it simple. Unfortunately, I didn't think to bring the one from my office. I just use a simple kind of what I call simple Excel spreadsheet. Let me see if I can kind of throw it up here on the screen if you can see it at all. Those of you that are on the phone, that are on the screen, you can kind of see that I've got it broken down to an A section 1 through 10, and then a B section 1 through 10, and then a C section 1 through 10. And I don't remember where I read this or where I heard this, but it really, even though I'd always use lists, it kind of was the one that clicked for me and worked for me. And like I said before, there's so many people out there writing books, and if there was a one-size-fits-all solution, then there wouldn't be so many people out there writing books. So you've got to find what works for you. If it's an app that works for you, then great. If it's a to-do list like the one I was talking about before, and to me, this is I just do this in Excel, and I have it actually on my Google Drive, so I can access it anywhere. And the first section, the A section, are things that have to be done today, or really should be done today. The B section to me are things that I'm not going to get to today unless I have a super productive day. Those are things I want to get to this week. And the C might be a little bit longer range, things I want to accomplish this month. And then within each section, I have them prioritized 1 through 10. And so like right now, I have something on tomorrow which is put together information for a company newsletter. And that's one of my goals for the week. One of my top goals for the week that's not a daily goal. So come Friday, that thing's going to kind of slide up into the A section, because I said I wanted it done this week, and now it's Friday and I'm running out of week. So I'm going to move that up in the A section. One of the things by using the Excel spreadsheet, I can easily sort things out. I can just type my things in there and sort them out 1 to 10, use the Excel feature to sort, and that's really easy to do. I have this as a piece of paper also. I mean, I know I said I keep it on Google Drive. I can access it, update it. I don't necessarily update this every single day. I keep the piece of paper with me. I scratch out things that are done. I write new things on there. And when it kind of gets messy after a day or 2 days, then I'll go into the Excel spreadsheet, wipe out all the things that are complete, type in the new things, and reorganize it again. So I hope that kind of makes some sense for you guys. Again, the A group is things that must be done to get today. B group should be done, and C, not very critical at all. And sometimes you'll see stuff on the C for a few days or a few weeks, and you'll say, maybe I don't really need to be doing that. And you'll just take it off your list and say, that was a wish item and never got to it. So how do you manage your time? One thing like I talked about, the list, organizing, knowing what you have to do. When you get that 5-minute time block and you look at your list and you'll see something there that's not on the top of your mind. And you say, wow, I could knock that out. And just by looking at it and writing things down, how many times you want to do something and you forget about it? You wanted to go, I don't know, pick up a gallon of milk, and then you forget to go to the grocery store because you went and picked up your kid from school, you came home and darn, I forgot to go to the grocery store. Well, now if you got to go back, you've lost 15 or 20 minutes. And what could you have done with that 15 or 20 minutes if you've been a little bit more organized and you were managing your time a little bit better? In my world, one of the things on my list is what can I delegate and delegate things out. Now, I don't know how many things that you guys can delegate or if you're all working by yourselves, but sometimes there are things you can delegate. Can somebody else pick up that gallon of milk for you on their way home if you're organized enough to know about it ahead of time?
Everybody should be delegating.
Oh, okay.
There are things you can delegate for sure. Yeah.
Okay. I guess that was a hot button. I didn't know that. Okay. Use reminders, alarms, to-do lists. I mean, I had a reminder an hour before this meeting to remind me I had this meeting coming up tonight. It popped up on me. And then I actually had an alarm. Those of you familiar with iPhone, there's a difference between reminders and alarms. That alarm was ringing 10 minutes before the meeting, so I couldn't possibly miss it. One of the things is to try making a diary. If you're finding yourself not getting things done that you want to do, one of the big tips out there is do a diary. And I've done this before, where pretty much you write down everything you do during a day. What did I do from, I don't know what time zone each person's in, but in my case, from 9:30 tonight to 10 o'clock tonight, I was on a call, okay? And then maybe 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, I watched a TV show. And if you do that for a week, what time do you go to bed, what time do you get up, then you can kind of see, well, where am I wasting my time, or where could my time be put to better use? I'll sit and I'll watch some TV every night because that's how I unwind. That's how I kind of clear my mind and think about stuff. That said, you look at social media these days, and it's such a distraction. I know that you use social media in your business, but you're talking about Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, Vine, Instagram, blogs. There's so much stuff out there. And while we can go into it and use it for businesses, and I use them in my business, how much time do we spend reading while we're there? And, do we just spend 20 minutes on Facebook when we went in to put a post real quick? So again, that can come back to automating. If you set up all your posts to have them automatically post, well, now you're not tempted to go waste 20 or 30 minutes on it. And I'm not saying not to spend any time on it, but again, be aware of what time you're spending and doing things like that. Same thing about blogs and readers. I don't know how many blogs people read, but I don't know if you use an aggregator, if you go to different blogs or what kind of mail sources. I like to use Flipboard. I know some other people like Google Plus. I don't like it so much, but Flipboard kind of gets in there and it brings all the different blogs and things I like to read together, and I can just flip through them real quick. Actually brings tweets, Facebook, all that kind of stuff in there. So I'd say if I could give you a recommendation of a book, one of the books out there that I liked a lot was Michael Hyatt. He has a book called Platform, and it talks about all different things as to blog posts and tweets and things like that. And one of the things I really like, somebody liked Flipboard. Good, I'm not by myself. But while his book Platform doesn't necessarily talk about time management in and of itself, a lot of his blogs and tweets do talk to about it, and they do link to other articles. One of the ones that I read lately that he logged to is 10 things you could have done if you get up early. And I thought that was very appropriate for this discussion. And it talks about, well, you stayed up late the night before. What did you get done when you stayed up late? What did you accomplish? Were you productive? Did you watch that late night show? Did you surf the web endlessly, or did you play Angry Birds? And I pretty much just went back and clipped that out of his blog post. And it went on to suggest that early to bed, early to start your day. So this is how you get things done. Next time, instead of burning the midnight oil, get to bed early so you can start fresh tomorrow morning. So how many things can you do the next morning? Another blog post I remember he put up right after the new year. I didn't go back and look for this one, but it was something, I don't know, was it 5 or 10 apps to manage time? So it talked about habits, and they had habit trackers and things like that. And so kind of what we're talking about here, time management, is habits, getting in the habit of scheduling stuff and writing things down and planning it so that you have control of those 24 hours a day, because there's only 24 hours in a day. So either you're going to control it or somebody else is going to control it. And does that mean closing your office door so you can have that 1 hour by yourself and just, hey, give me this 1 hour and I can accomplish my tasks, instead of it being spread out inefficiently over 3 or 4 hours? So that's kind of my thoughts. I tried to leave some time so we have some questions or some discussion maybe on this. And if people got thoughts or discussions, I'd love to have you jump in. Okay, not all at once now.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure that time, that the to-do list, I think that's like the Covey training. Do something really similar. Rob, that's right?
Yeah, it is. I was also going to mention for the people that want to do to-do lists that don't want to write down a piece of paper, if you, especially those of us using Google Calendars, you can actually use a task list within Google, and you can make a task list, and you can actually sort it by date and everything, where you can go in and say, oh, this is something I need to get done, say, I don't know, by January 22nd. I need to get these things done by January 24th. I need to get these done by January 31st. And I've actually gone at times far enough to where I go every day, I'll have a daily task list where, hey, I need to do invites. I need to do my workout. I need to have my Shakeology, things like that. But, you obviously, it doesn't all have to be business stuff, but say, I need to mail off my car registration. That might be, you need to mail that off by a certain date. You put that on your task list, things like that. But it is available electronically, and you can use that through your apps on your smartphone as well.
That's good. I mean, it's always good to get everything written down or typed in something. One of the things I found out is that when I was using, like even with my Excel spreadsheet, and the reason I said is I print it out and I scribble on it as the day goes throughout, is because I found out that the time it took me to go back to the electronic thing every time I type something in, it took me more time than to cross things and scribble them as I went out. That's why I try and get back once a day or once every couple of days and update that. Somebody asked a little, I saw something on the screen as to who the author for Platform was, and that's Michael Hyatt. And he also does a lot of tweeting and blog posts also. And I actually find those a little more informative for time management type stuff.
I was going to say that I really like that time diary idea, because we have, for our coaches, some of us that are coaches are stay-at-home moms, and some of us, like Rob, you have work full-time, you play soccer, and you have half an hour during lunch to work. So for everybody, though, if you don't manage your time, you're not going to be efficient. If you don't know what you have to do during that 30-minute break, you're not going to get it done. And same for as far as the time diary goes, because I know that there's things that I don't get done, but if I actually looked at what I did in a day and wrote all that down, there's a whole lot of room for what I could throw in there. And the half an hour I'm just sitting there scrolling through Facebook, I could definitely be meeting new people. Candace, we were talking about joining groups reaching out to people. So I think that time diary is a really good idea.
Yeah, I really think I didn't think about writing stuff down because I know, like, I get on Facebook, like what your dad was saying. I get on Facebook to write a post, and I'm on there for half an hour because I look at something and I go to something else. And so I think I'm definitely gonna use that diary hourly. I think that would totally help me for a week to find out what I'm doing.
Cool. One thing I jotted down early on and I forgot to come back to is a term I believe Zig Ziglar coined this, and it's called Automobile University. And how much time do we spend in our cars listening to the same music over and over and over? And if you have something in your car, something you want to learn, whether it's a podcast or it's a CD, we spend so much, most of us spend so much time in our cars. It's a great time to learn. And I talked about podcasts earlier, and I probably spend more time than the average person in the car, but it's a great time for me to be able to listen to podcasts and catch up on different shows and things. And you can learn a lot while you're driving around in your car and not just listen to music.
Dad, that book, The Compound Effect, that I had told you about, every
Right.
single person here has read. It was like the first book that anybody was told to read ever, and he talks about that in there. So everybody should be doing that.
Well, and also in Compound Effect, they talk about forming habits. So that's really what we're talking about here. Using to-do lists and managing your time is about forming habits and how it compounds. Just like the story from that book. That's a story. That book had the story about the penny in it and how the penny grew to $10 million by doubling every day. So what would you rather have, $3 million or a penny that doubled every day? And it turned out to be, every day for 31 days. And at the end of 31 days, it turned out to be over $10 million. So it's a power of habits. And that's what we're talking about with time here. Because if you use your time wisely, then you have more time tomorrow. And if you use tomorrow's time more wisely, then you have more time the day after. So it's good habits and it compounds over time. So yeah, that's a great book also. I hope that was the right book that story came from. You look like a blank stare, like you don't remember that story.
Well, there's another one about,
Okay.
I think that was in there, right?
Yeah. Okay.
There's another one too about like a plane, and if it's just like a degree off, that it ends up being like 150 miles away,
Right.
just from being a degree off, like every whatever.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions or thoughts? Well, if nobody's got anything else, thanks for having me, and I hope that you guys learned something. Hope it was helpful.
Thank you, Lau.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.